What's going on, sons? Welcome. Have to fix one more thing there. Hello and welcome, everybody. The Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. I go by Matthew in real life and Blind Run on the internet, and today I have a lot of news to catch up on. Resuming this week will be the Blocks show, which will be Monday through Friday, covering the news topics for the day in under 5 minutes. So don't worry, that is coming back. However, of course, we will continue to do the Crypto Mining Show every Saturday between 6 and 10 p.m., just depending on when I get back from vacation every weekend. You know what I'm saying? But today, yeah, I just got back from vacation, so that's kind of what's been going on there. Today, we're going to be talking about Kraken to submit user details to the IRS, or court orders Kraken to do so. And Bitcoin tumbles on report of SEC saying spot Bitcoin ETF filings are inadequate. And it gets even worse. KuCoin Crypto Exchange to introduce a mandatory KYC in July. They are falling like flies, and self-custody is going to be paramount, my friends. Crypto miner Hive blockchain touts privacy of AI models running on its GPUs, which is going to be pretty significant as well. And that is, of course, coming off the heels of the Octominer E10 unboxing from Red Panda Mining, which I think most of you all, if not all of you all, have already seen. We're going to kind of talk about that video and what I was able to gather from that in particular, and I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions on that. We do have some interesting hardware releases coming up. AMD is launching a 5600X3D. So that's going to be on the older platforms. Remember, the 5800X3D has been kind of the go-to for gaming in general for upgrades. So moving on and kind of going older platform at a low price at $229 is pretty good. I think it should have hit that $199 mark, to be completely honest, but that's still going to support DDR4. It's going to be a really good entry level CPU, at least for gaming. For mining at this point, we haven't seen a lot of improvements from 3D Cache. We'll get into that more, though, later on. And Micron has introduced its next generation GDDR7 graphics memory and in the first half of 2024. So this is coming down the pipeline. Refreshes of GPUs are probably going to happen. And along with a huge jump in memory like this, what I would also expect to see is a refresh of the consoles getting announced as well, just because that's the way the cookie is going to crumble. If you purchased a 4070 or a 40 series GPU in general, at least for gaming, I mean, like, it's not looking too good. This new memory is going to be faster. We have new miner releases from BZ Miner, SRB Miner, and Rigel Miner as well. And of course, we had that huge move from Kaspa with 10 BPS on their test net. Amazing stuff. Let's go ahead and get into all of that and more right after a word from today's sponsor. I'm not sure what I queued up. Today's sponsor is BT Miners. BT Miners has been a longtime sponsor of the channel and a proven reliable source for ASIC miners. If you're looking to purchase ASIC hardware from Bitcoin to Dogecoin miners, they are available for purchase on bt-miners.com. BT Miners is a trusted source by both ASICminervalue.com and CryptoMiner.com. Follow the affiliate link in the description and tell them SOT sent you to support the channel. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Courts order Kraken to submit user details to the IRS. We could say Kraken too, just depending on however you want to pronounce it. I just started doing Kraken because that's what I heard other people say. And I know if you were to jump off a bridge, you know, blah, blah, blah. Hold on, let me fix some display settings here real quick. Did that fix it or break it? Is that brighter or darker for you guys? I think it broke it. Let me check this real quick. I don't know. Either way, I think we're golden for now. We're just going to go ahead and leave it. It does look a little dark though, doesn't it? I did, just in case, before we get into this article, and while I go ahead and probably think about adjusting the brightness on this, I had my NVMe die the day before leaving for vacation, and so I stayed up all night installing a new NVMe and recovering from a backup. So there are still a few little tweaks and stuff like that that are just, not fully set up. I thought I checked this because I knew that this would be a potential issue, but I think that unfortunately, and then it bounced it off of that real quick. There we go. I don't think it's going to let me bring the brightness up for some reason. Let's see. Do a color correction. It's not adjusting it. I don't know why it's not adjusting it. So we're going to leave it like this for now, and I'll check it out next Tuesday. You know what I mean? Let's get into it though. Court orders Kraken to submit user details to the IRS. The court ordered Kraken to turn over personal information of certain users to the Internet or Internal Revenue Services or Service, IRS for short. According to the court order, Kraken must submit details of clients whose annual traded value surpassed $20,000 between 2016 and 2020. The personal details requested by the IRS include usernames, addresses, birth dates, and taxpayer identification numbers, among other documents. Moreover, Kraken must disclose blockchain addresses, transaction hashes, and raw blockchain data to the agency. The court document revealed that the IRS sought Kraken's user records since March of 2021, when the exchange issued an administrative summons to the exchange. The IRS alleged that Kraken failed to comply with the court summons. The filing added, quote, despite discussions between parties, however, Kraken refused to comply with the summons and has not produced the books, records, papers, and other data demanded in the summons. Consequently, the officials filed the current case against Kraken in February of 2023 to enforce the demands of the 2021 court summons. Now, this is part of the difficulty when, following Watcher Guru and some of those crypto Twitter deals is they do, kind of release this news a little late. We had talked about this, I believe, back in February of 2023, but this is par for the course, as to be expected, of course. I think with cryptocurrency in general, as far as regulation is concerned, it's going to start with tax, basically tax revenue, because you can't be skipping out on your taxes as far as that's concerned. If you filed, individually and were tracking with something like bitcoin.tax or something along those lines and then submitting, I think everything will be just perfectly fine. Obviously, what they're doing is trying to get some of these bigger accounts that surpassed $20,000 between 2016 and 2020. This does bring up, of course, the question of, fundamentally, is this okay in cryptocurrency and blah, blah, blah. I think, like I've talked about before, the on-ramps and off-ramps being centralized exchanges is what you do to participate within the old system of fiat, right? And if you're going to do that, then you pay the fiat fees. We'll quote Jesus, right? Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, that type of thinking. But if we were going to talk about, what this is going to, why this is going, or how this is going to impact, I think, crypto regulation in the future, or crypto access to the general public in the future, I think that it does spell out some tricky situations, seeing that it's going to be a lot more difficult for people to participate within cryptocurrency within the United States. I think for the most part, what you're going to see is a lot more stringent rules set by cryptocurrency exchanges. I think this is why we saw a 52-page end user license agreement from crypto.com come out not too long ago. And these requirements are getting just crazier and crazier. I think, well, the last I saw, crypto.com 2 was also sending out, requests that you reset up, your direct deposits, if you even have any of those anymore. I mean, for the most part in the US, direct deposit to a cryptocurrency exchange, period, the banks have blocked pretty much across the board, as well as the federal credit unions. So your inlets and outlets are getting skinnier and skinnier and monitored more heavily and more heavily. Of course, this is the reason why people talk about virgin Bitcoin. This is the reason why mining is important and will be extremely relevant, especially within, I think, the United States, because this will be an easy inlet, right? If you're utilizing hardware to generate that, not only do you have a paper trail that proves that you aren't doing anything suspicious, but you also have that inlet into cryptocurrency that is outside of the banking industry and that sort of thing. So, I think that becomes extremely relevant, especially if you're trying to get in a hefty amount of investment within Bitcoin or within cryptocurrency itself, because your ability to get your savings or anything like that into something like Bitcoin through traditional finance is going to become more and more difficult, and it'll get obviously taxed to hell. The hard part, of course, with mining from the tax perspective, though, that we have to, talk about is you get taxed not only on the electricity that you're running, but you get taxed, the income when you mine it. And then you also get taxed on the capital gains if you held it. And that can be extremely difficult to manage as a miner, and keeping track of that, and making sure that you can actually even make a living off of mining can be extremely difficult, especially when you have things proposed like the 30% tax on crypto mining from the Biden administration. Boo-hoo. Hopefully we'll see that get shut down. I presume it will. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section in the live chat down below. Bitcoin tumbles on report of the SEC spot Bitcoin ETF filings are inadequate, says the SEC. Spot Bitcoin ETF applications from BlackRock, Fidelity, among others, had helped drive Bitcoin higher over the past 2 weeks. Tinfoil hat on, here's what really happened, okay? They went ahead and they filed for the ETF after gobbling up a bunch of Bitcoin after all of the FUD. And then Bitcoin shot up on the announcement of the ETF, and they were like, oh no, bring the price back down. We haven't accumulated enough. And so then they were like, release the hounds. And Gensler came out there and was like, bro, bam, release this news, get it in the news cycle and get going. Taking the tinfoil hat off, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, ETF, said recent filings to launch a spot Bitcoin ETF are inadequate, reported the Wall Street Journal Friday morning, citing sources closer to the matter. The news sent the price of Bitcoin plunging by $1,000 or more than 3% in the space of a few minutes. At press time, Bitcoin was trading just above 30,000. Of course, it's just above 30,000 still. It really didn't affect it near as much as I thought it was going to. I thought it was possible we go back sub 30, and it didn't. And so, staying above 30 with this kind of news, I think is pretty bullish in general. You didn't see a huge dump. Now, maybe that's because, the large institutions have already drained the common man so much that the impact of the common man getting scared by this type of news is so little that it's just, comical to the big boys, right? According to the story, the SEC has informed NASDAQ and CBOE, the exchange that filed the spot ETF paperwork for several of the asset managers, including BlackRock and Fidelity, that the applications aren't sufficiently clear and comprehensive. At issue, the story continued, is the filings didn't have enough detail with respect to the surveillance sharing agreements, including which spot Bitcoin exchange would be used. The asset managers can update their applications and refile, and the CBOE indicated to the Wall Street Journal and to CoinDesk that it plans to do so. Of course, when we talked about the filing from BlackRock for this, there were some refilings that had already been going on as well. And some of these filings for ETFs are on try number 7, right? And we're going to get into double digits for some of these tries on filing for, I think, an ETF. The SEC said in previous ETF rejection orders, the sponsor of a Bitcoin trust would have to enter a surveillance sharing agreement with regulated market of significant size. Surveillance sharing agreement. There you go. All right. That's what I wanted to point out. I wanted to reiterate that in case anybody is enjoys their tinfoil hats. A market of significant size is one where anyone trying to manipulate the price of an exchange traded product has to trade on the same market the exchange traded product, ETP, is based on, meaning the agreement would let the sponsor and the trading platform identify any wannabe market manipulators. At present, no federal regulator has oversight of spot Bitcoin markets, a state of affairs the Commodity Futures Trading Commission has lobbied to change for years. Quote, we would decline to comment on the possibility of individual filings, an SEC spokesperson told CoinDesk. Now, of course, there are rumblings that you could see essentially these market, or I should say, a market of significant size. The partnerships in the United States specifically would be something like Coinbase, which has been rumored to be who BlackRock would potentially partner with in this particular case. And the difficult part here, I think, is that we're getting skiddier on, exchange options within the United States, and whittling it all the way down, it certainly feels like that we're going the direction of less cryptocurrencies available to the general public within the US borders, as well as less options of where to purchase them. So basically taking a bunch of the, altcoins, consolidating them, making sure you can only buy just a few set, probably something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash is probably going to be on there just because, and maybe like something weird like Ethereum Classic or something is what ends up getting accepted. It'll be odd, right? It won't be a choice that makes any sense other than from the perspective of whatever these people are holding, the Nancy Pelosi's of the crypto market regulators that are going to short or long individual currencies, depending on whatever they are prepared to, regulate, which is going to be kind of funny at the end of the day. So let me know what you guys think of this in general. Do you think it'll be like something like Coinbase that partners with them to kind of take care of this surveillance sharing agreement and regulated market of significant size? I would presume so. Coinbase already has pretty much their KYC under lock and key. I mean, like, it's pretty difficult to do anything significant on Coinbase without some sort of KYC involved, if not full blown, like, state ID, mother's maiden name and the blood of your firstborn to trade on Coinbase, and then your options are limited as well. And it doesn't get any better, of course, either, because we talked about earlier the issues with Kraken, which is available in the US, and the IRS kind of like poking and prodding them for a bunch of KYC. And then now KuCoin as well is going to introduce a mandatory KYC here in July, which I mean is today, right? Officially, but I believe it's going to start a little later. Yeah, on July 15th. KuCoin's Know Your Customer checks will require new users to complete identity verification to access all services, while existing non-KYC users will not be able to deposit. So from the miner's perspective here, it's kind of good news, right? you can still, well, and I don't know if it's non-KYC users. I guess we need to read further. It may just mean you can't deposit anything, which is kind of a bummer. If it is just deposit fiat, I mean, maybe you can kind of get around it with the mining kind of side of things. But you know, at the end of the day, I think this is what you're going to see across the board, right? And it's going to be sold to you under anti-money laundering regulations. It's going to be sold to you, you know, as anti-terrorism. You know, pick and choose, like whatever, you know, reason you want, but it'll be along those lines, as we've seen just over and over again. Major cryptocurrency exchange KuCoin is working to strengthen its Know Your Customer system by introducing new mandatory identity checks. On June 28th, KuCoin officially announced the upcoming KYC system upgrade and a move to increase compliance with global anti-money laundering regulations. The KYC authentication upgrade introduces mandatory KYC checks for all new users at KuCoin starting from July 15th of 2023. Without completing KYC, newly registered users will not be able to access KuCoin's sites or suite of products and services, the firm said. Existing users who registered before the 15th of July 2023 will also have to complete the KYC process to access some features on KuCoin. Such users will not be able to deposit new funds, while withdrawals will remain unaffected, the announcement notes. I mean, so in theory, you could still trade with anything that you have within KuCoin. And then if you did try to deposit any new funds, period, it sounds like cryptocurrency or fiat or any of the likes, you're going to have to get KYC'd over on KuCoin. And of course, they say for anti-money laundering, but we all know that it's for tax collection purposes at the end of the day. That's really what's going on here. A complete KYC process requires users to provide their name, identification number, and identification photo and undergo facial recognition. You know what's funny? Here, like tinfoil hat, ding, 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 ding. I think that they forced the entire population of the world to put on masks so they could train AI to identify you through a mask. That's my little fun nugget for the day. That's my conspiracy theory. The CEO noted that KuCoin brings and verifies the customer identification and verification data required under the laws and regulations of applicable jurisdictions. He stated, quote, typically we require customer identification information, including information on the customer's name and further identifiers such as physical address, date of birth, and national ID number. Pursuant to requirements of laws and regulations of applicable jurisdictions, KuCoin also collects additional information related to the customer's business and risk profile. Risk profile data includes nature and volume of trading activity, origin of virtual funds deposited, and origin of, just add the "and" there, origin of virtual funds deposited, Liu added. The CEO went on to say that KYC is a principle that KuCoin has always adhered to, adding that identity recognition is an existing process. Liu also stressed that KuCoin set their KYC policy to comply with regulations in applicable jurisdictions since there isn't a unified global KYC regulation. Quote, KuCoin doesn't support the United States KYC based on our current KYC or the updated KYC rules, a spokesperson for KuCoin noted. The new KYC update will affect a significant number of cryptocurrency users worldwide. KuCoin says it had over 20 million registered accounts on its platform as of July of 2022. KuCoin is also one of the world's largest crypto exchanges by trading volumes. At the time of writing, KuCoin's daily trading volume amount to around $540 million, with more than 8 million monthly visits, according to the data from CoinGecko. To compare, major United States-based exchange Kraken has about 5 million visits per month, with about $380 million worth of crypto traded daily. Some of the other crypto exchanges have been increasing their KYC policies recently as well. In May, Bybit Exchange restricted non-KYC users from withdrawing more than 20,000 Tether monthly. Cybercriminals have capitalized on KYC requirements, reportedly selling hacked and verified crypto accounts on the darknet for $30 as of April 2023. Where there is a will, there is a way, right? I mean, you put all these restrictions in, And all you're really doing is restricting the public that is going to obey the law from actually, prospering within cryptocurrency, which is a funny kind of idea from the very get-go. Like I've always said on this channel from the very beginning, is that, you can't expect cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in general to change the world. And, Bitcoin fixes this. It's not going to fix everything without breaking everything first. And the fact of the matter is like, this is what you see happening. But does it go the way of the dinosaur, right? Does it turn into enough fear from the public that the fear gives up their rights to basically participate within cryptocurrency and just goes about their merry way, while large companies like BlackRock accumulate all the Bitcoin in the fucking world and leave everybody poor once again? Because this is really where I sit down and think maybe Bitcoin doesn't solve this. Maybe Bitcoin doesn't solve anything at all whatsoever. It was a pipe dream. The fundamentals are gone. The only thing people care about is buying Bitcoin in hopes that it goes up in fiat, dirty fiat price, so they can sell it and make their lives better. And it doesn't change the world at all. And at the end of the day, sometimes that just feels like the direction we're headed in. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I know it got a little dark, but I'm just giving you guys the way it looks like it's going to crumble. And you talk about this in any other, libertarian circle surrounding whatever it may be. The Second Amendment in the United States is a really popular one. And you take away the guns and only the criminals have it. This is the same with cryptocurrency, right? And the biggest criminals are the ones on boards of places like, large corporations like BlackRock. And, they say, don't get involved with, drug dealers, gangsters, or CEOs. And to a certain extent, it's kind of the way it goes. I mean, I'd like to tell you that yeah, like Bitcoin's still going to fix all this, but the public, if under enough fear of repercussions, right, they start making examples out of individual people, and then the entire ecosystem crumbles, right? If the public out of fear just says, you know what, this is too complicated, I don't want to deal with filing taxes, it doesn't even look like I'm going to make any money off this anymore, I'm just going to stop participating, and everybody just stops participating, then you lose the ability to actually shift anything in any meaningful manner. The way that you would like to see this go, right, is that everybody starts participating within crypto peer-to-peer without the interference of a third party like KuCoin. And in that case, you don't need the third party exchanges, and you refuse to let, exchanges, governments, banks, or anything like that interfere with your ability to transact with one another. And then maybe it goes that way, but it's not going to go that way without a huge upheaval of the way that everything functions currently. Off the soapbox, crypto miner Hive Blockchain touts privacy of AI models running on its GPUs. Hive wants to provide enterprise training in its fleet of GPUs as part of its pivot to artificial intelligence. Bitcoin mining firm Hive Blockchain aims to allow customers to train large language AI models in its data centers, touting better privacy compared to rivals such as OpenAI's ChatGPT, the firm said on an earnings call with analysts on Friday. Quote, companies are now mindful that they don't want to upload sensitive client data to a company like OpenAI that has a public LLM, large language model. What we aspire to offer at Hive through Hive Cloud is privacy, where companies can have a service agreement in place, ownership of their data and privacy, and still run artificial intelligence compute workloads on our bank of GPUs. Now, this is something that I was talking about previously, which was, sure, we could see cryptocurrency in general, or, blockchain technology move into AI for GPUs, and GPU mining will be there. But where the real money ends up being, of course, is through individual clients. And this is really what Hive is basically targeting. Hive is not going to be utilizing or leveraging any sort of crypto specific AI, right? It doesn't appear that that's what they're going to be doing. What they're going to be doing is basically shifting into a data center platform to where they can allow, individual clients to go ahead and leverage their systems, and that is what they're doing. So if you think that this seems bullish for GPU mining in the future, it's not. It's the opposite of bullish for GPU mining. What we're seeing is this shift within the GPU miner realm of moving from cryptocurrency mining into, of course, AI. And the problem with that is, one, for most people that are running, farms out of their home, it's just not, it's not cost effective, right? You need to upgrade all of your systems. For the uninitiated here, a majority of these things are going to require you to have more CPU power, more physical RAM or memory on the actual server itself, more lanes per GPU to handle all of the bandwidth that's going to be going between the CPU and the GPU, and a better internet connection for that as well. So if you're trying to run like AI out of your home, it's not going to be necessarily that easy to do. That being said, of course, also you can't attract large clients like someone like Hive can. The caveat here is, of course, what you would hope to see is that blockchain could solve that in some form or fashion with something like Flux, where you basically utilize, the blockchain to disperse the workload across multiple home GPU miners. You still have to worry about, of course, the cost of upstart, that sort of thing, moving all of those, previously mining GPUs over to the server, basically server infrastructure at that point, and you will have a cost there. But in the case that you can only afford like one data center, grade server, and move 8 to 10 GPUs over, or really probably like more like 3 or 4 really at the home level, something along those lines, onto something like a Threadripper and white boxing it if you're really trying to be efficient. What does the ROI look like on that, right? We haven't seen a ton of revenue as of yet go through like Flux in general. So at least on the data processing side. So Flux is going to have to do a lot of kind of PR moves, a lot of advertising, that sort of stuff. Naturally, that's going to cause Flux to be a little bit more centralized and a little bit more business focused. So things are shifting. It's going to be a little interesting to see how it plays out. One of the projects that kind of gets around this right now that I would be amiss if I didn't mention, of course, is going to be Dynex. But Dynex is solvers. It's not it's not AI, at least at this point. So while it is going to be it is proof of useful work, it's not proof of useful work in the manner in which we are seeing the need for the upgrades to the systems running with the GPUs, right? So we're going to have to see, what happens with some of these other AI coins. I know Pepe coin is trying to do it, the OG Pepe coin, but even their AI tests at this point, really for the most part, are requiring 4 to 8 PCIe lanes, depending on the generation of your lanes, and really requiring, big old Threadripper or server CPUs and a lot of memory, that sort of stuff, right? So this does seem to be the direction of GPU miners in general, though, so keep that in mind. Hive's shares on the NASDAQ gained almost 2% on Friday. Obviously, anytime you have an announcement with something AI related, you're going to see a bump, I think, in your in your shares, in your stock shares. Miners have been increasingly pivoting to AI as mining economics have interfered with their profitability, with some facing bankruptcies, while the AI sector sees a boom in interest from investors. However, it is yet to be determined whether miners can compete with big tech firms such as Google and Amazon Web Services, benefit from both economics of scale and decades of experience running high-quality custom-facing data centers. Large language models understand and generate human language using probabilistic calculations, They are often trained on graphics processing units, a type of electronic circuit made up of semiconductors that was originally used for image processing, but has been found to be good at running AI loads. Hive has a fleet of about 38,000 GPUs from the days when it mined Ethereum. Some of those it has directed to mining altcoins, while others are available to rent as service or deployed in its cloud offering. The firm expects a run rate of $1 million annually for its GPUs. It said on the earnings call, already 500 GPU cards generated $230,000 of revenue this quarter, said the firm's chairman, Frank Holmes, in a press release discussing the annual and quarterly earnings. What's interesting here is when discussing that, it is revenue. I would be curious, what kind of their power cost is that, and their operating cost is going to be on that in general. Hive's fiscal year ended in March 31st of 2023. So, Hive reported $106.3 million in revenues from the fiscal year, which ended in March 31st of 2023, with a gross operating margin of $50.4 million or 47% of revenue. That's about half of the historic revenue it noted for the year of 2022 of $211.2 million at a gross operating margin of 78% revenue. Obviously taking big hits. Hive did make a lot of smart moves, I think, early on when they were shifting to data center workloads. This was something that home miners couldn't do. And this is something that still bugs me, I think, a lot right now when we talk about the future of cryptocurrency mining in general, is that the home miner that which we had this kind of opportunity to generate revenue in a manner that is taught by a ton of finance gurus all over the world. For example, though, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, where you buy assets, you generate revenue with that, and then you buy another asset and you continue generating revenue. Traditionally speaking, buying these types of assets do cost a lot of money, and cryptocurrency mining on GPUs was something that allowed an entry level position into the form of, basically generating revenue and being financially successful, that a lot of these people that are late, flipping houses or owning real estate or doing something along those lines, or a bunch of bonds or a bunch of dividend stocks or something along those lines, it allowed basically the general public to kind of participate in that form of wealth generation, right? And as we move forward and everything kind of shifts into this proof of useful work or into AI models in general for GPUs, and it kind of shifts away from mineable coins that are purely just mineable, this barrier to entry gets a lot higher, even to the point to where it doesn't make as much sense as other investments. And that's a little sad. I don't like seeing it go this direction, and I'm worried that we're not going to see anything but that. On the flip side of that, we talk about the coins that are still mineable on GPUs, but the fact is all of them on like hashrate.no are core intensive, have threats of FPGAs and ASICs coming to them quickly. We're already seeing ASICs come out for stuff like, everything, right? FPGAs getting added to Ironfish. We already have ASICs getting added to kaspa. And it doesn't look like a lot of the coin devs are moving towards, ASIC resistant or anything along those lines. It's a little bit different than the last bull run bear market cycle, where there was this push for decentralization, this push for, ASIC resistance, this push for basically the common man miner from their home being able to participate in these networks. And the reason for that, of course, was adoption, right? Like your adoption is significantly increased if you are able to have participants or more participants via GPU mining. You have less participants when you get into ASICs and FPGAs, and therefore you don't have the higher adoption rate. That's why you'll see a big adoption rate at the get-go from the grassroots, and then it kind of like dips off and adoption rate starts to fall down. I think we saw this, of course, even with Ethereum, right? Like massive adoption rate. And then like the amount of the transactions on the server, the amount of participation post merge decreased significantly. Now, a lot of people are contributing that to the bear market, but we didn't see the same percentage of drop off on participation during the last bear market when Ethereum was still, proof of work mineable, because that's when we started to see that rise of DeFi and a huge amount of participation within the Ethereum marketplace in general. And these are all kind of this is just everything I look at when I look at cryptocurrency as a whole and I take a step back. I do think that you'll start to see a few coins decide to start going ASIC resistant. I've even heard talks of like, I know you can have your opinion on Ironfish, but I've heard talks that Ironfish wants to move to a different algorithm and get off of, this FPGA ASIC path that they're currently on. And I think a lot of the reason for that is that they're aware, I think, along with a lot of other people that are trying to do, build a blockchain or a blockchain or a coin from the ground up, that your adoption is significantly bolstered if you have, more people securing the network as opposed to just more hash rate in the hands of fewer people. And I do think you will see less participation in a lot of the coins that move too quickly from FPGA to ASICs because the interest won't be there. Now, people have the hardware, right? They want to generate the revenue. If you basically come onto the market and you have a good, solid foundation ready to go and you make it ASIC resistant, you got security right there, right off the bat, ready to go for you. And a lot of people are not selling these GPUs on the secondhand market. And there are still just a ton sitting around, still being turned off. Even as I have talked to, Hive OS in the past, I said, you guys, like, are you noticing like people are selling these GPUs, just deleting their accounts? And they're like, no, like they just have the GPUs turned off. That's it. And they'll see them come on for a little bit and then they'll see them turn back off and they'll see them come back on for a little bit and turn back off. I think that the amount of people that would also be interested would come flocking back if there was a project that did fulfill this. And it'll be interesting to see going into the next bull run if a project comes along that does do this. And I think it does have to not be proof of useful work unless it's a special kind of out of the norm proof of useful work. I think Dynex might be an example of that. But I don't think that you can expect people to purchase, whatever they're going to be, $5,000 to $10,000 like server systems. Speaking of which, the Octo Server E10, we did get a first look from Mr. Red Panda Mining. The link's down in the description. If you're not subscribed to him, I'm sure all of you all are, but definitely go subscribe to him. He did get this E10 unboxed, and there are a few interesting things. So on the back side, we do have SSD storage available, or 2.5-inch drive. Technically, you could run a 2.5-inch disk drive, but you got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 there. And then you got your power supplies. These are all 1800 watt Lite-On power supplies, the same ones that come in the original X8s and X12s. And then I believe you got so you got the 3 exhaust fans on the back. I believe they're 140 or 120 millimeter. I didn't catch that, to be completely honest. Going on the inside, weird design choices. Now, Red Panda did mention that they are going to do a back plane. So this may change, but right now each individual drive bay has like an additional Molex power and then basically just a SATA connector on it. For server grade hardware, this is definitely not something you want to see. Apparently the backplane will be coming in. Now, a backplane would typically, for basically a RAID card would either plug into a specialized, PCI slot on the board, or just a standard PCI slot on the board, and then you would plug through that RAID card and you'd have your separate RAID controller. This is going to have to be solved, I think, especially for the Flux case or side of things. I think you'll want, a pretty good solid backplane that's going to be able to support that. Apparently it is coming. I didn't see anywhere on the motherboard itself where you would have a PCI slot to plug that backplane into. So I'm not sure what interface they're going to use, because I only saw a single CPU slot. I believe you got 8 slots for the memory, and then you got your SATA ports here, which I guess is what they're expecting you in the standard platform to plug into. Onboard RAID controller for this, I don't know. And the other thing, like even this one that they shipped RPM, I know they do this a lot because they just leave the BIOS settings as they are on the Octos, but they don't put the CMOS battery in. But if you're going to be having, specialized hardware that needs to, have specific, BIOS settings to manage the RAID and manage all the rest, why is there not a CMOS battery that comes shipped with the server? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Just some oddities. I know that this is very early on though, so hopefully like that all gets handled. It's probably one of those weird process things where they weren't doing the batteries to save a little bit of money on the Octos, and then they I don't know. Anyways, there is a fan, basically a fan assembly in here for easy replacement, which is extremely nice. I'm not sure what the fans are. Probably some standard server grade 120 or 140 millimeters. But I don't know what brand or anything specifically like that. I see like I said, I see the SATA ports here. I don't see a separate, slot for the backplane for the GPU or for the hard drives. You do have your 10 slots. It does look like they're all double width. That does mean, and then the way I believe the cord was here. Yeah, so they got the power coming off here. It looks like it was definitely designed for blower style cards that are going to have essentially a plug on the back. With the current design, I don't think you're going to want to run anything but server, server specific, like data center grade GPUs in this particular case, or at least blower style coolers. I mean, there is that RTX 4090 with the blower style that we talked about not too long ago. But there's not going to be a ton of different cards that are going to fit necessarily in, this particular setup. So if you're going to build this out, it does feel like it's a lot less whatever you have plopping into this, which is fine. I mean, it's kind of the same as the Octo miners before, but if you have anything like on open air, any of these really thick 30 series or 40 series cards, probably not going to be ideal in this particular situation. Now, some of the cards do sit higher, and I believe RPM also said that they're working on a 5U top that will allow you to have the cards that sit a little bit higher. So that was some information that I gathered on it. You're not getting that. I think what's going to be interesting is the price point here, which is still doesn't seem to be revealed at this point, at least yet. And the price point is going to be extremely important here. If the price point comes in, really, really competitively and makes sense over, purchasing something that's specific for AI processing or something along those lines, then maybe it makes sense. if it comes in closer to those, then it makes a lot less sense because you're not getting, I think from the very get-go, the quality of the RAID controller is going to be a big factor here. So whatever that ends up being is going to be an extremely important factor. I have zero faith in the onboard RAID controller on this particular setup currently, as it's currently set up, you know, as we see it. I have zero faith in that. So if it comes with a separate RAID controller that's a good name brand, you know, like a Super Micro or something along those lines, we see that come in, we get good, you know, a good setup there, then maybe you're good to go. I don't know where this sits in my opinion, because I don't know where the price point comes in. And like I said, there's too many questions here that are up in the air. As it's currently configured, I would pick a different, you know, I would pick a different server selection personally, just because of the way it's currently configured. Now, what this does a little bit better, obviously, or a lot better, is the amount of GPUs available to fit within this unit, right? The 10 GPUs within this unit. I think that's really where the killer app is for it. But, you know, is that going to, I don't know how these Flux nodes are going to function yet either. Like, I don't know what the primary set of proof of useful work or tasks are going to be. I've seen cloud gaming kind of demonstrated with Rocket League there. If that's the case, then, you know, I didn't even see what the onboard NICs are here. Your onboard, you know, you're going to want 10 gig probably, which I didn't even see what the networking is like on this one in particular. I couldn't find that. I don't think it's in here anywhere either. If it's going to be AI, it's going to be important to have, you know, your data set up. Also, the kind of risk that you take on that. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of the Octo server E10 and where you kind of think this whole thing is headed. Like, we don't really have enough information on what kind of tasks are going to be required for Flux proof of useful work. We don't know what that is going to entail fully yet. We don't know what the final version of this Octo server is going to be quite yet either. And so there's just too many things in the air. I would be cautiously optimistic surrounding it all. And then, you know, kind of make sure that you aren't going to, like, I wouldn't go out day one, buy this and not knowing if you have the proper internet connection, right? Like, does it, like, that, you know, you aren't going to need a really good RAID controller with, you know, like, that you're not going to need really good, you know, 10 gig internet, like, or 10 gig NICs plugged up to these things to really process that data properly. And until you really know all of that, like, it doesn't, it's just, I assume that Flux, because of the Flux and Octominer discussion, that there is a bit of that it has been talked about what's going to be needed and what's not. I just don't know what those are yet. So I think that's about it as far as that's concerned. Other new hardware information. This one I'm pretty excited about, sort of from the gaming perspective, entry level. The Ryzen 5 5600X3D. It's going to launch on July 7th. Kind of disappointing at the 229 mark though. I wish it was 199. It should be 199. It just most definitely for sure should be 199. End of story in my humble opinion, but you know, inflation. So we've heard about the 6-core AMD Ryzen 5 5600X3D before. The part was named by one of the official hardware leakers earlier this month, or not official, but one of them. But just as quickly as the news was shared, it has immediately sparked debate by people familiar with AMD roadmaps whether such a part is even planned. Turns out it is. AMD has decided to launch this processor exclusively through Micro Center, the company confirmed today. This U.S. retailer will be the only launch partner for this processor for the duration of its availability. So what this essentially means is that the 5600X3D will not launch in any other country. As we've suspected, the 6-core X3D part will cost much less than the 8-core 5800X3D. As reported earlier, this 8-core popular gaming CPU has already been available for as little as $280, meaning that any potential 6-core variant would have to be cheaper. It is now confirmed that the 5600X3D will cost $229, which is a great price for a new part for sure. I still don't think so. I think $199. $199, that's me. Although it is based on an older Zen 3 architecture. Micro Center confirms that the specs of the 6-core CPU at 3.3 GHz base and 4.4 GHz boost, exactly as mentioned in the original report. AMD had to lower the frequencies to comply with strict voltage regulations of the 3D V-cache design. So the CPU's base clock will be about 300 MHz slower compared to the Ryzen 5 5600X. In addition, the product has 3 megabytes of L2 cache and 96 megabytes of L3 cache, which makes it 99 megabytes combined. AMD Ryzen 5 5600X3D's TDP has been increased from 65 watts to 105 watts, like the 5800X3D and other high-end Ryzen AM4 parts. That's kind of disappointing as well. You would hope with the 5600 version, you would be a little bit lower on the power consumption. I think that means that it is, yeah, you don't have that low power consumption option for an X3D chip yet, unfortunately. But one should not forget this part was released in November of 2020. It already has a successor in the form of the 7600 with 6 Zen 4 cores and retails at about $218. However, you know, if you are sitting on an older gen platform or you want to build on an older gen and make some, you know, basically, I mean, have what will probably be a pretty good gaming CPU if we have to be, you know, if we're being completely honest, the 5800X3D has been like the one you don't even need to upgrade from at this point. From the CPU mining perspective, I mean, we'll leave that to Rabbit mining in general. I think you should get one and test that out for you guys. But, you know, I tested the 5800X3D, not huge improvements there. There were a couple algorithms that it was better in, which made it kind of interesting. At this lower price point, it could be more interesting, I think, with 99 megabytes of cache. Meaning at 229, it could be more interesting for mining. With the extra cache, potentially on those a couple extra algorithms, it would have been more interesting if the power consumption was lower, right? But I think really from the mining perspective, as soon as this got pumped up to 105 watts, I think it makes it irrelevant from a mining perspective. If you're looking for a good CPU that's probably going to drive high-end newer GPUs and get good frames, then this is probably going to be right up your alley. Now, speaking of newer GPUs, etc., you may want to hold off on purchasing any new GPUs until the first half of 2024 and announcements. You also may want to wait on any sort of gaming rig as well as any gaming console, because GDDR7 is going to be introduced by Micron coming up here soon. Whatever NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel have in store for next year, Micron will be ready with its next-gen graphics memory. Over the past 2 years, the GDDR7 standard has been repeatedly mentioned by various memory manufacturers, but it hasn't yet entered sampling phase yet. As part of Micron's fiscal Q3 2023 earnings call, Micron's CEO has confirmed that the company will introduce new G7 product on its 1B node next year. Unfortunately, the company is not yet ready to share further details, such as potential speeds in the new memory that the new memory could offer. The GDDR6 memory is currently shipping with speeds of 20 gigabits per second, while the GDDR6X technology of the 40 series is up to 22.4 gigabits per second. Other companies like Samsung have already announced their plans to introduce 36 gigabit per second GDDR7 memory in the future. Unfortunately, unlike Micron, Samsung did not confirm when GDDR7 would become available. A potential graphics card equipped with 384-bit memory bus would offer 1.7 terabytes of maximum theoretical bandwidth, and that's at the 36 gigabits per second. To put this into comparison for you guys, that is basically an RTX 4090 on crack. And that would be 70% more specifically than the 4090. Gamers should probably not expect such speeds with first generation G7 products. In fact, higher bandwidth may result in narrow memory buses being used by next gen GPUs, which I mean is already what we're seeing as a strategy from NVIDIA, where they've, cut down the bus widths on all of their GPUs. Hopefully you still see like a 5090 with like a 384-bit memory bus. 512 would be fucking sick, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, in exciting news for kaspa, the kaspa 10 blocks per second testnet has been running smoothly for over 2 hours. This was, earlier this week. And Shai went on to say that even though we don't stress load transaction yet, some naughty participant decided to generate some anyway, whereby we are already witnessing more than 2,000 transactions per second. For the first time ever, a pure proof of work protocol is being carrying thousands of transactions per second across dozens, maybe hundreds of network nodes in a permissionless network running on affordable hardware. Let's describe the difference between what he's talking about and what you as a miner may be experiencing. He's not talking about the mining hardware, where we are seeing, of course, like the ASICs come out and that's super expensive. He's talking about the hardware to run the nodes in particular. Just to clear that up for you guys. History in the making is what he goes on to say. Obviously, this is something I've been waiting for from kaspa for a very long time. It's great to see this coming to fruition. Super bullish news, of course. And I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts and opinions. I can't wait to see this hit mainnet. And it'll be really interesting to see where kaspa ends up this bull run. I think it's going to be pretty good. Let's talk about miners. BZ Miner version 15.4.0 released yesterday. In this, they added a new coin, Chlor. They added the new coin XNA, NurAI, or NurAI. This is a new one that I definitely want to go check out. Get my little notepad open here. All right. They fixed low Zilliqa, Ethereum Classic, ETHW, and Octa hash rates. They increased the dev fee for Ravencoin, Meowcoin, and Neoxa to 1%. An increase in fees. How dare you, greedy developers. Fixed possible crash on startup and fixed up some logging. Does go on to say, if you run into any issues allocating large Nexa LUT on NVIDIA cards, please update your NVIDIA drivers. Kapow coins like Raven, Chlor, Meowcoin, XNA, and Neoxa are broken on AMD cards. So there you go. And the NVIDIA driver 530 to 535 have a bug that reports the wrong clock. It's like, well, upgrade your NVIDIA drivers, but you'll have to deal with this bug at the same time. Woohoo! Currently, the improved Ironfish hash rate is not supported while solo mining. This will be addressed in an upcoming update. Which is another thing that we're seeing a lot right now, is a centralization of hash rate due to the fact that the mining software and the miners themselves are performing better over specific protocols on specific pools. And this is something that we see with, obviously kaspa being the biggest offender here recently, kind of grossly so, with the release of the ice rivers, because the ice rivers obviously were only on kaspapool.org, and we saw, kaspapool .org kind of take over all of the hash rate on kaspa really quickly. And I'm not sure what's going on, but it's not good, right? It's not good for decentralization. It's just not good in general. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think's going on? Why is this happening? We also had a release of SRB Miner version 2.3.0 released last week. They improved mining performance on the Dynex algorithm for AMD, NVIDIA, and Intel GPUs. They added the algorithm meme hash for the AP, oh my gosh, the Pepe POW coin for CPU mining, and that is a 2% fee. They added shares, accepted, rejected statistics for CPU mining, reduced miner binary size, and miner bug fixes. Under Dynex, it says the performance improvement on Dynex is temporary until supported for new job types is added. Remember, we saw this one as well from, was it the 1Z miner? And so there has been this question, I think, surrounding Dynex of like, how long has this been going on? Where you kind of see this huge disparity between, you know, what the Dynex hash rate was compared to what it is now. And then this kind of statement of like, well, it's going to be temporary. And then the question of is like, if you pick and choose the particular jobs, do you have more hash rate? And in that case, is this temporary because as soon as those jobs are profitable, you know, are they going to pull it, yank it, use it for themselves on the back end like an FPGA dev does? Or, you know, what else, what is really going on here? What's really going on here? And then it does say that for a Pepe proof of work, GPU implementation will come later. If a coin dev decides to take action right now, it would be useless due to the 4-byte nonce size. Rigel Miner version 1.6.0 came out 2 days ago. They added the AutoLicos 2 algorithm for Ergo to Rigel Miner. And they added dual mining for Erg and Radiant, and Erg, Radiant, and ZIL for multiple triple mining. So cool to see Rigel coming along, kind of swinging for the fences, I think, kind of early on, hitting that good Nexa, and then kind of starting to add support. I think getting support for Ergo is definitely good. Let's go ahead and get into mining profitability for the day. And it's all about the Pepe W, apparently, again, and some Cortex, some CCX here going on. A little bit of Dynex randomly spruced about here, interestingly enough. If we take a look at the 3090, which we typically have been keeping track of for a while. Where's the 3090? Did I miss it? There it is. 3090 is most profitable on CCX right now. XNA is really popping up here, which obviously we saw that support coming in over here, which is Neura AI, which we'll do some research over on sonofatech.locals.com with you guys for the after show here in just a little bit. Can't seem to get this popped up. Okay, there we go. So Dynex has retaken the top spot on the RTX 3090 with Conceal. Sorry, not Cortex. My bad. Coming in second place. Paprika Coin coming in third. Radiant in fourth. Alephium in fifth. And then everything else kind of being unprofitable. Kaspa still here at a little bit of profit. And then everything else looks to be negative. So there you go. That's kind of what's going on with GPU mining profitability. A little disappointing. ASIC mining profitability. KS3 still cracking that 3,000 price mark, in the KS2 at that 721 price mark. Pretty incredible stuff as far as that's concerned. Antminer L7 though, still sitting there pretty much in third place, kind of getting beat out by the IB Link BMK1. But I don't think this is actually accurate. So profitability wise, yeah, the Antminer L7. I don't know what's going on with the nice hash, but it is what it is. S19 Pro, let's go ahead and scroll down and see what's going on here. There are some interesting things going on with the S19 Pro last week because we saw a big uplift in Bitcoin Cash. And Bitcoin Cash is profitable right now at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And but it's not as profitable as it was. The S19 Pro is doing over $1 a day for a little bit and then has come back down. Got Ant Pool, Binance Pool in, all that sort of stuff if you want to go specifically, but Bitcoin vanilla 54 cents a day after power. So there you go. Everything looking a little meh, but it is what it is. Kaspa And it has gone up to, what is it, 1.28 petahash a second. And I think we did see a spike up to 1.5 briefly, and then it came back down. We're still waiting to see, and what I'm keeping track of here is going to be like how, look, third-party retailers have claimed that they have 5,000 KS3s from Bitmain in their warehouse. Okay. That would be a minimum. Then if that's true, which it probably is, could, on order, ready to go. That would be a minimum of 41 petahash, right? Or 40 petahash, which would 40x the network in difficulty. The question is how are they going to start deploying and testing these on the network and at what rate, right? So, if that does happen, obviously it drives those prices down. Or it doesn't drive the prices down, it drives the profitability down. And if you are an ASIC manufacturer, you probably don't want to drive the price, or you don't want to drive the ROI down on these units until you've sold them all. Now, that means, of course, that they won't deploy these onto the network to give you a realistic view of what your profitability on these things are going to be, because if they do that, then they risk basically not selling all of their product. Now apparently these are sold out. Says now they classic Bitmain. I laugh at this because originally it just said August and now it says August to September. This is going to get pushed out to like December, bro. And then we start seeing these things hit the network in August. If these are sold out and they're not going to list a second batch before shipping these, I would presume that we start to see these start to hit the network here pretty soon. We're moving into July. We should start to see the difficulty start to hit up for testing at some point. All right, so Ergo is at 20.62 terahash a second. Oh, here we go. Down 5% over the past 7 days. Kaspa is up 0.34% over the past 7 days. Let's take a look at some of the other ones. We got Raven Coin in here. Almost at 2 cents at 7.1 terahash a second on the network. Flypool losing some hash rate here. Look at Dynex, I think was the other big one, up 33% over the past 7 days. And at 1 gigahash a second. Love to see it. Let's take a look at Flux, which is down 3% over the past 7 days, sitting at that same 2.5 mega solutions a second. For the longest of times, Ethereum Classic is up 4%, sitting at $20 right now, and 139 terahash a second on the network. There's Radiant, right? Down 14% over the past 7 days, sitting at 88.13 terahash a second. We got Ironfish, which is down 10% over the past 7 days and sitting at 1.97 petahash a second. That's a lot of solo mining going on there, huh? Watch out for them FPGAs hitting the market, my friends. Yeah, watch out for FPGAs hitting the market there. And Nexa was profitable, I think, still. No. Nexa's not, but down 13% over the past 7 days. Oh, what was the other one? Oh, Conceal. That was the other profit. Down 7% over the past 7 days, 1.5 megahash a second on the network. All right, so let's get into questions and answers. Remember, super chats are never required. Always appreciated. First to be answered because they're the easiest to read. Tagging at @SonOfATech will highlight the message orange, and I'll be able to read it easier. Thanks everybody for being here. It's good to see some of the. So I'm seeing some people I haven't seen in a while. Raven Boy Crypto, what's going on, my man? Good to see you back here. Ted, what's going on, dude? Says at @SonOfATech, the 5600 X3D is just a cut down 5800 X3D. Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem, right? Is like you're not getting that lower power. All right, I'm just gonna wait on some questions. And then we'll move. Wow, is the lag that bad today? Patrick says, at @SonOfATech cost me about $1,000 to get an Epic slot MOBO, 192 gigabytes of memory, and 4 risers to make a llama rig. Nice. Sounds like a good plan. Gordon says, at @SonOfATech kaspa to the moon. I would presume that we still have to go through the Bitmain exodus, but that's what I think. Patrick says, at @SonOfATech going to experiment with large language models before proof of useful work. Probably not right now. No. I just I don't have the bandwidth. Ted said, I'm just gonna say Ted says, at @SonOfATech, that battery thing is a customs thing in Canada. Watch Danger TV on YouTube. You can airship batteries and electronics. What battery thing? Oh, okay. Battery, not having the CMOS battery included. So they could have just removed it for the Canada shipping. I don't know. I didn't get any in mine, but it's probably custom things everywhere. That's fair enough. Raven Boy says, at @SonOfATech, ain't been around. Work sucks. Took the week off. Thinking about finding a Web3 developer job. Hey man, don't think, do. You got this, bro. I believe in you. Mr. Ooey says, at @SonOfATech, did my message not show up earlier? I had to shower. No, I didn't see it. Matt K says, what do you think about the KSOs hitting eBay once the KS3s come online? Well, they don't seem to be built for longevity from what I saw because of the heat issues. Of course, you can modify and fix that and get those temperatures down. But it is a one trick pony, right? So, you know, I think it might be beneficial to have like one KSO modified in the house that's quiet, that you are running, you know, solo on a node, because kaspa is uniquely soloable with low hash rate, meaning that you could like hit a few lotteries pretty good. But that would be the only, I wouldn't like buy a bunch of KSOs. And you might be able to get one like dirt cheap and run it like a, you know, a Bitcoin USB miner, basically. Latrell says, that's Evitech, what GPUs are you keeping? I mean, I've kept all my GPUs. I mean, I have like a 3080 for sale right now. Just because I packed it up for a friend and then he didn't want it. And I cleaned it all up, and I just, if you guys are interested, it's posted on Locals. I mean, you'll probably scoop up KSOs for a lot cheaper than 300. Gordon. Trillion says, that's Evitech. What do you foresee happening in the event of Binance collapsing beside crypto prices going down? I don't think that we'll see Binance collapse without, I don't know. I don't think that we'll see it collapse, but you know, we could be wrong. Maybe there is like something going on, and you know, there's more than FTX, and I think if they, I think they'll try to arrest the owner first. I forgot his name. It's not Do Kwon. I don't know why I want to say Do Kwon, but I think they'll arrest him before anything, and that's how the exchange will go down. I think Binance.us will get closed first, though. It's a $5 super chat. Sorry, I missed it. I didn't see this. I don't know why my super chats aren't listing. I feel bad now. Wanted me to make a how-to on solo mining Grin. I don't know. I'm not really doing how-tos. I'm not really set up for how-tos right now. I'm not set up for any testing or how-tos. I don't know what to do. CZ says Trillrish. Thank you. CZ. Yeah. I gotta get the power turned back on at the farm too. Was $2 short on the power bill, apparently. They turned me off, so. And I'm working on Coinbase has locked away a bunch of my money for some reason. I gotta get that unlocked before the next power bills due. It's been a weird end to the month. Okay, so it's currently a sub 40-day ROI, which means that it's probably not a bad buy within the next. Well, I don't know, actually. I do not know. It probably is a bad buy. I mean, within the next 30 days, the KS3 hits. Right? Trillion. Lion Brown got a hold of your money. Yeah, they I don't know. So I have like a, I don't know. I have like a vault, but my vault, like, and my vault's locked. And so I have like, basically I just need, yeah, I gotta work on recovering my vault. I accidentally sent the wrong Bitcoin address to someone, and it got stuck in my vault. So it noob mistake. How illiquid the market could get after CZ goes to the feds. I mean, There probably is some sort of concerted effort to consolidate the exchanges down as much as they possibly can. And it seems like Coinbase is the chosen one. Or crypto.com. I think it's Coinbase. I think it'll be Coinbase. Got stuff trapped in KuCoin. All right. Marcus says, that's Tech. Why would anyone mine to a solo pool when you can mine to your own solo node? What is the purpose of mining to a solo pool? Well, there isn't. You're basically just paying to be lazy. And there's a lot of lazy ass people. The liquidity just goes somewhere else, Trillion. I mean, that's really it. All right. Let's go ahead and head on over to locals. And we're going to look at this coin. What coin are we looking at again? XNA, Neura AI. And then I'm going to look at what PC. I'm going to try to do some parts hunting for my daughter and I's custom PC that we're going to build for QuakeCon. That is what we're going to do, dude. KSO doesn't support mining to your own node yet. Yeah, that's been, we were talking about that earlier, and how kaspa.pool.org or whatever blew up from it. Very weird. Very weird. Got a $5 super chat from Mr. Uwe. Says, is it a horrible idea to buy a KSO? I mean, that's going to be up to you. I don't know, dude. I have no idea when the KS3s are coming out or how many total they're going to be and how fast they'll get deployed to the network. Right? I just don't, I don't know. My gut would tell me it's not a great idea, because I would presume that Bitmain starts throwing those machines on the network soon. And if we look at third-party retailer claims of 5,000 units just for them, then we know that there is a 40x in difficulty happening on the network between now and September. Right. Let's see. Ice River. Let's go to what to mine. I mean, we can calculate this out real quick for you. Let's just say that happens. Let's say you order your KSO and the difficulty here. I always forget what this is called. Is this it? Yeah, this will work. So August, let's say 185 like we were talking about before. Right. August 7th you would have almost ROI'd by then. But and when let's 40x this number. That's 40x. 11 million, almost 12 million diff. Then let's take the Ice River, where'd they put it? KSO. At 100 gigahash at 65 watts. I would mess this up, so I'll just make sure. It says 100 gig. That's a lot more mega hash. I was gonna put in. All right. At 65 watts. So, ooh. Worst case, it hits the network, and before you ROI, you're making 60 cents a day. Which, at $1,000, puts your ROI at 1,666 days. 10 cents a kilowatt hour. When are these shipping? Oh, shit. Yeah, that's oh, and it's worse than that too, because you got to pay the $40 for the power supply. So to be clear, all we did was presume that the third-party retailer that claims that they have 5,000 KS3s is accurate. And we presume that that is an August ship date. And that all of those 5,000 units will hit the network. And the block reward will be cut down to the 185 as of August 7th. And the KSO would make 60 cents a day at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And it won't ship until earliest July 15th. This is why these guys never send me their products. Let's move on to the I wouldn't buy one with a July 15th to 30th delivery date. I wouldn't, but none of my stuff's running right now, Ty. But they were running like 3 days ago. I had a snafu with the power company. They added a $2 fee after I paid my bill and then turned off my power 3 days after adding the fee and telling me that I was late. So, kind of bad. If kaspa went under 1 cent, would you DC? I wouldn't DC. I don't dollar cost average. But I have enough kaspa. No, I wouldn't. Let's just go riding out the storm, my friend. Riding out the storm. Perfect. Okay. So we are going to head on over to locals now, guys. I will take a quick break before I go live over there, and then we're going to look at this new coin, the Nura AI. And also, if you guys don't mind checking out the crypto mining Ecourse, if you don't have a membership at sonofatech.locals.com, you can get a free one when you purchase the Ecourse. So you get both. I'm on the clone fake Ice River site. Well, I'm not. Oh, are we on the... No, we're not. On the page here? Well, I guess it doesn't matter, but... IceRiver.io. Did I get them mixed up? No, we're on the right one. The official is IceRiver.io. Good call on that, though. Double check. All right, we're headed over there. I'll see you guys over there. Thanks everybody for watching. Check out sonofatech.com for the crypto mining e-course. I'll see you next Tuesday.